Hi again. You said you also had trouble with the preterite tense of regular verbs, and again, recommendation is to watch the tutorial and then watch this video I'm recording. So in this section, you start by learning that there are two main tenses to talk about the past. They're called the preterito and the imperfect, preterite and imperfect. And in this lesson, you're going to start by learning the preterite. The preterite is used to talk about a specific times in the past, specific moments in the past with a beginning and an end of an action. And to talk about these points in the past, you're going to use a conjugation. So you're going to do the same thing you do with the present tense, but with different endings, and those endings are going to mean that you're talking in the past. So for the verb comprar, for the AR verbs, you're going to add the endings marked in yellow, and this is going to mean I bought, you bought, he bought, we bought, they bought, you guys bought, they bought. The ER and the IR verbs is the same thing. You're going to add the endings, and that's going to mean the past tense. There's an attention here for you to realize that there's accent marks on certain forms, and you need to remember those forms. Also, they give you some tips for you to pay attention about how to conjugate certain forms. This is the purpose of this information here, is to try to help you remember all these forms. Stem change. If you remember, the present tense had some changing verbs in the AR, ER, IR forms. The good news about the preterite is that they are not stem changing verbs in the AR or ER forms, but they are in the IR forms. So those are things you need to keep in mind when you are going to conjugate the verbs. There's also spell changes in certain verbs. Verbs that finish in these same endings will have these specific changes. Other verbs like this have other specific changes. Those are things you need to memorize and learn. And then the words commonly used with the preterite are anoche, anteayer, ayer, de repente, de, hasta. Of course, it makes sense because I'm telling you that this verb is being used to talk about specific points in the past. So if you say last night, you're referring to a specific point of yesterday. So that is what is a trigger of this kind of verb, of this tense. In Inténtalo, we can do that one. You said you had trouble with Inténtalo. So we can do this conjugation. To do this conjugation, hopefully you have studied the forms already, and that would make it easier. So with tú, you would say tú comiste, and this is just looking at the conjugations in the previous page. Usted comió, nosotros comimos, yo comí. And you use the accent marks. The system may not give it to you as valid because you may not be putting accent marks. Keep that in mind. Tú saliste, usted salió, nosotros salimos, yo salí. Tú comenzaste, usted comenzó, nosotros comenzamos, yo comencé. And this is one of the ones that have a certain change. One of the lists that I told you have to memorize. Comenzar, verbs that end up in ZAR. Tú leíste, this is another specific verb. Usted leyó, nosotros leímos, yo leí. So the truth is that this exercise is easy if you keep going back to the pages of the theory, because there are some cases like comenzar or leer that don't follow the traditional pattern. They have an irregularity, and they are listed in the theory, right? We have comenzar is like empezar, finishing in a ZAR. Leer is right here, and it gives you the information. I'm not sure if you had trouble with any other exercise. In your email, you mentioned only Inténtalo, but we can have a quick look on the other exercises just for you to feel a little more comfortable. In completar, it says, Andrea is talking about what happened last weekend. Complete each sentence by choosing the correct verb and putting it into the preterite. So, el viernes a las 4 de la tarde, la profesora Mora asistir, costar, usar a una reunión. So what did she do in a meeting? She attended, right? Sí, asistir. Vamos a hacerlo aquí. Let's see. So you first choose the right verb. It's not opening now. Yes, it is. Here. So you take the right verb, which would be asistir, because what do you do in a meeting? You don't use a meeting, you don't cost a meeting, you go to a meeting. So she attended, asistió. So you take the verb and then you look for the third person singular that matches la profesora Mora, and asistió a una reunión de profesores. At 1 o'clock, So what do you do at 1 o'clock in the store with some friends? Did you arrive to the store? Did you go scuba diving in the store? Or did you take a store? Well, it needs to be llegar. So you go and you do the conjugation. Mis amigos y yo, 2 or 3 things. Did we buy? Did we bargain? Did we spend? It must be buy, right? We bought. So compramos. So all you do is first choosing the right verb and then conjugate it in the past. Yo cost, bought, or brought some pants. Must be brought, yeah? So yo compré unos pantalones negros y mi amigo Mateo, my friend, spent, walked, or bought a blue shirt. Pues compró. So first meaning and then conjugation of the tenses in the right form of the pretérito. This is the clue of this exercise, and I'm not gonna complete it because I want you to do it on your own. But with that, hopefully you have some help to do it. In here, it says, imagine that you have a pesky friend who keeps asking you questions. Respond that you already did or have just done what he or she asks. Make sure you and your partner take turns playing the role of a pesky friend and responding to his or her questions. We will do this in class, but the idea is that with the information they give you, you'll be able to conjugate the verb in pretérito in order to ask a question, and then you will be able to answer the question. Cuando? Use the time expressions from the word bank to talk about when you and others did the activities list. So what they're giving you is specific points of times in the past to push you to use the pretérito. So they tell you, mi compañero de cuarto llegar tarde a clase. So you use one of the time expressions. You have a subject and you have a verb. So ayer mi compañero de cuarto llegó tarde a clase, and that's what you're going to do in that activity. We'll do some of these in class. And these activities is the communication activities. We will do them in class too. So I hope this helps you with this section.